So why, so why is it important for people who are not suffering from those types of social barriers and restrictions and scrutiny for their identity? Why is it important for them to get a handle on this issue, especially those that are aspiring to be allies?
Yeah. All of our repressions are connected. No matter who you are and what identities you hold, at some point in your life, you have held an identity where you have not held privilege. So for example, if you're a teenager, if you're under the age of 18 or under the age of, I don't know, let's say like 22, you don't have certain rights. You can't vote. You can't drive. So everybody can tap into a place and a time in their life where they have experienced marginalization, where they don't have as many rights or as much safety as other people. There is something called divide and conquer that's been at play in, I think, history, like forever, that makes it so that people with marginalized identities are pinned against each other. And I think that so many of the struggles that people who hold marginalized identities have been so tightly woven into the fabric of our society, woven into the songs that we listen to, woven into characters in the TV that we watch, woven into who's a superhero and who gets to be the villain and how those people are depicted, even just like the shade of their skin, even if their skin is a different color than like purple, for example, dark purple versus light purple. It's woven into our laws. It's woven into our criminal justice system. It's woven into the language that we use with each other that we don't know the origins of. And so every single day we reinvent oppression, oftentimes without knowing it.
Yeah. Have you heard, I'm sorry to interrupt, have you heard of the lost cause theory?
I'm gonna write it down.
Seems to be directly related to what you're referring to, which is this series of social mechanisms by which we've established this social hierarchy, and kind of originating from the original minstrel shows that were designed to sway public opinion against Black people by humiliating them through stereotypes and through all different manner. And it's been integrated into all of our entertainment and a lot of the just cultural narratives that we share. So lost cause is I just found out about that term to kind of as a blanket, and I just thought that might be useful for people to look up at some point.
Yeah. And please do encourage anyone else to interrupt me. Please do just interrupt me with anything that you have to add or anything. But all of these things make it so that we grow up into a society, especially when we hold privilege, that we don't have to recognize racism, that we don't have to recognize, maybe as a woman, I see sexism, I feel it, I have felt it, like, you know, as a woman, I understand it deeply. I can't understand what racism feels like deeply as a white person. So I have to then open my ears and listen to someone else's experience. But if we are blind to our privilege and we don't open our ears and our hearts to understanding other people's experiences who's marginalized, then we're gonna be just pitted against each other, because that's the way that the people who hold the power in our society want it, so that they could maintain the power structure that currently exists. So what we need to do is we need to understand first and recognize that empathy for like what it feels like to be marginalized, and then see that other people experience it, not the same way that we do, but other people experience it in their identities as well. And we need to open our hearts and start listening to the stories, because there are so many stories that are out there. People of color have poured their hearts and done so much emotional labor to try and get white people to understand their experience. And so now it's our turn as white people to open our ears, open our hearts, and start doing the work of understanding that. What is sexual violence prevention? Is anti-racism work. I 100% believe that. If we want to stop sexual violence from happening, what we have to do is we have to fight so that women don't experience this, because it is a highly gendered crime. But it's not just a highly gendered. We need to fight like depictions of women. We need to fight problematic depictions of what romance is, like not taking no for an answer, and how you should push a little bit more and playing hard to get, all of these really problematic narratives that are also woven in to our society, in the movies that we watch, in the books that we read. When we look at like even modern day examples, right, it's in there. Same goes for racism. If we want to stop sexual violence from happening, who it's happening to are women of color, are trans women of color, boys of color, people of all genders and all other identities, but people of color, especially Black women and Indigenous women.